Chelsea, listen to me. Bay, listen. Bay. I mean, I'm just saying, you're lightweight, like fly. Like, man, I got a real lightweight chick. You know what I mean? Man, I love you, Chelsea. You know that. Stop playing.
Control, this is Agent Ogren. I need a request to open up cell 311.
FreeMe podcast.
All right, so we open up season one, episode five, Prisoner of Love breakdown. We open up with Chelsea getting back from her trip, going and talking to Mong Dudes and getting some sound advice, and again, just you could see that Chelsea's mom is her support, is her rock, is the one that she goes to get her clarity, her beacon of light from. So when she is wooed off her feet and all of these things, she has a confidant. This is her confidant that she can go to and kind of keep herself grounded. So again, that's what she does here, and Mom Dukes does Mom Dukes business, and that's cussing her out for getting Michael's name on her back, and just letting her know, like, listen, it is what it is, and these first red flags, you have to get out of here, and take that tattoo with you. We open up with that scene with them just talking about, Chelsea saying that she could see herself at this moment spending the rest of her life with Michael. So after the conversation with Chelsea and her mom, we cut back to Bryce and Alundra, right? Now, again, I stress this in every episode because this is vital that you guys pay attention to this here. Don't pay attention to so much as the argument, just pay attention to the whole thing that's going on. And you will see how toxicity in a relationship begins, because that's what we are witnessing, is the toxicity beginning in this relationship. Alundra is really starting to mess up. And where she's starting to mess up is the pressure that she's putting on Bryce. And from what I'm seeing from Alundra, in her mind, she's like, okay, your sentence is done. You're out here now. That's over with. Now it's time to start building on this here. And she's forgetting about the whole reentry process, because she's just unaware of what that process is. And Bryce is trying to explain it to her the best way that he knows how, in his 23-year-old self, So I don't like how Alundra looked at Bryce, and she's looking at him like this is real life. She even says, this is real life, bae. Weddings are expensive. No, weddings are not expensive. First and foremost, weddings are cheap. People tend to make them expensive because they want to live these fantasies, which is all fine, right? That's what a wedding is essentially supposed to be, is a dream, right? It's a dream day, but it has to stay within the scope of reality of what's going on, right? It's not real life, bae. It's fantasy life. Real life is, I just got out of prison. I'm only working maybe $12, $13 an hour, whatever he's making, plus her job. We don't have that type of money, so we have to compensate some kind of way, right? Either we can go and we can have, we can go down and get married at the courthouse and get it finalized, right? And then save up for, a ceremony the following year or such, right? Or we got to cut this price way down. You know what I mean? We don't need no 100 guests. Where was these 100 people at when I was gone? When you were going through what you were going through. So you have to compromise. But what is happening, one, is toxicity is starting in the relationship between the two. The friction is you're starting to see sparks. And the overwhelming amount of pressure being put on this 23-year-old kid that has been incarcerated since he was 19, right? About marriage and all of these responsibilities, when he hasn't even taken the time to figure out what his place in society is yet. This is the step that we overtake. We come out, we're expected to perform, and we don't even know how to perform or what to perform in. But we're just looked upon as being, having to perform. So Bryce tries to explain the best way that he can in his little prison diary, you know, uh, So Bryce is trying to explain the best way that he can, and what he's saying is accurate and is true, right? And again, it's the pressure that's being put on him to 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 graduate to a certain level of society very quickly without even understanding how to even get to that level. We cut off to Alundra's, diary, and she's showing some colors, man, because now she's looking at this kid like he's selfish because he brought up the point about going to the courthouse. She's calling him cheap. There's no conferring, there's no agreement, there's no consultation about it. It's just when he brings it up, she says no. I want to do this the right way, quote unquote, the right way, and you're just being cheap. So again, these are issues that it's just more fuel being dumped on the ground as these sparks are being hit, and one of them are going to catch fire. We saw a little fire catch, with Bryce walking out and being gone all night or whatnot. Alundra, you have to stop putting pressure on this dude, right? And you have to understand, yes, you sacrificed all of this stuff. But why did you sacrifice it? Did you sacrifice it for this man to come out and you want to put all this pressure on him to live your fantasy in the timeline that you wanted it while he was gone and you created, all of this? Okay, so now Chelsea calls Issa, lets Issa know that she's in town, wants to stop by and see Issa, and it's very comforting for Issa, right? She expresses the comfort in knowing that Chelsea is now coming to her house to talk to her face to face because Issa's having some issues, you know what I mean? Some serious issues. She even proclaimed the fact that she has no one that understands her issues and she has no one to talk to, but she's finding comfort in Chelsea. So Chelsea comes, and again, here's another bombshell dropped on Issa, right? So again, there's just no experience there for these people to confer with and to talk to about these real life issues and get real life answers that make sense. It's just automatically always negative. I think the way that Chelsea presents things, it puts people in a negative state, a negative thought process automatically. So Devin gets put back on to the website. Devin reaches out to Chelsea, lets Chelsea know that he wants to be put back on the website, and he's in his tight prison garb. That's what we do. When we're going out on profiles, we go get jacked up, put on a tight shirt, some tight sweats, and go flick up, and then that's what we put out there on the profiles. So this is what Devin did. I still think I honestly think that Devin is a good dude. I really do. I think that Devin is a good dude with some issues. And I think a lot of Devin's issues is abandonment. And the reason why I'm putting that together is because of what his mom Duke said during their interview with each other. And she was just, you could see that mom was apprehensive about someone getting involved with her son because of the abandonment. Once they start finding out who her son is, then it scares them away. But meanwhile, Devin's catching feelings for people. This is what I see is happening, and I think that Devin is getting to a spot now because Issa's getting bad information, or I don't want to say it's bad information, but bias information, stigmatic information, one-sided information. There's nobody else to give her any alternatives that are plausible. So her thought process, her thought track is just on one mind, and that's fraud and getting screwed over. So this is where her thought process is, and she's seeing everything from that thought process, and then it's just going down a dark road. And then when Chelsea comes and drops this bombshell on her, now she's 90% made up her mind from what I could see that she's not even gonna mess with this dude. And I think the whole reason why that Devin put himself back out there is because he felt, we know We know that when our people that we truly have connected with is starting to withdraw and pull back, because we look for that stuff, you know, we expect it. So Devin knew that she's pulling back, and he was just like, bump that. I'm gonna go find me another one, you know. And I think that's kind of where he's at, because that's just what he's been used to. But I don't think that he's a bad dude. I think Devin's a good dude, man. And I think Issa just got spun in a web, and she just not looking at things correctly. So now we get to the infamous lightweight taking. Michael's on whatever social media platform he's on, and he's supposed to be representing Chelsea's business. And he tried to do it in the best way that he knew how to articulate the prison experience, which was just emotional venting. We need more articulateness than that when it comes to wrongful convictions, when it comes to innocence in prison. When it comes to these things, we need men to come out of prison, women to come out of prison, right? That can articulate specifically how this needs to change, so we can bring awareness, right? We don't need just emotional venting and just prison sucks and we're good guys too. So halfway through, Michael switches from the prison experience to, calling out shout outs and states and things of that nature. And of course, like social media does, you can easily transcend from using it as a business model to using it for likes and subscribes. And it's a very easy transition, because you get hyped up into, oh my God, look at all these people paying attention to me. Now I have to keep that attention going. I have to keep feeding them what they like, and now you just lose sight of what your program even started as. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to some of these other convict shows, watch them from the beginning, and just watch how the whole format changes. So it's keeping and sticking to your guns as to what you believe in, and not allowing outside distractions to pull you from what's important. And that's what Michael did. He started getting the shout outs about how cute he looked, wanted to braid his beard, instead of just saying, there's only one woman that could braid my beard or anything of that nature. He got caught up in the light. He just wasn't ready for it. A question came out, are you married? And here goes Michael. No, I'm lightweight taken. Chelsea, of course, she didn't understand really what that meant, but just the sound of it, is negative. It's not reinforcing the fact that you're in a relationship. But she didn't get upset about it to the point to where she assumed. And this is one thing I like about Chelsea, is she goes and she asks questions. She gets information. And of course everybody is telling her no. That's what lightweight taking is. Then comes the conversation with Michael, and it's his poor excuse of trying to explain what lightweight taking is. So now, once you get caught, a manipulator, once he gets caught, right, he'll lie and he'll deceive and he'll twist reality in order to make his lie seem true. That's how egoic and narcissistic people can get when it comes to just living an egoic life. See, if Mike was a true player, a true manipulator, right? A true. This is how I know that Mike really ain't shit. He's a lame dude, right? If I know I fucked up like that, talking about lightweight taking and just had some blowout stupid night like how he did on social media, right? Then I would just tell her. I would just say, listen, man, I got caught up in the limelight, and it felt good to get all these compliments and whatnot. But you know what? You're right. And I'll have to guard myself the next time, because I see what you say now. She would have bought that in a heartbeat, and everything would have went smooth from there. But see, he ain't got no game. Lightweight taking. I mean, what kind of crap is that anyhow, man? Who says that? Bald-headed beard dudes. Back to Bryce and Alundra, and again, as I say, is toxic, right? This is already starting into a toxic state. You're getting into this relationship where they're They're not they're not communicating. Communication is shutting down. And I see it unfolding because I've been through this stuff, and it's just we don't even recognize that it's happening, but there's so much pressure on Bryce, right? There's so much pressure on Bryce, him trying to figure out this wedding. He's trying to, she's insinuating that this wedding is some sort of signal as to growing up, when she said back then that, this is real life, bae, you know. So again, she's making him feel like he has to be a certain way. And Bryce is starting to lose who he is and where he's at in life because he's under this pressure of trying to sustain what this fantasy that Alundra has painted while he was away. She's so wrapped up into this fantasy and trying to make it happen that she's the one, as Bryce said, I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. She's putting up a barrier between them where Bryce doesn't even feel like he can communicate with her, you know? And that started back when he said, well, let's go to the courthouse and get married. And she said no. She didn't even offer to hear what that even looked like. Okay, Bryce, well, what does that look like? So we go to the courthouse, we get married, then what do we do? Because I do want to have, my dress and all of that stuff. There was none of that. It would just instantly no. I want what I want. But then she'll turn around and call him selfish. You see, so all of Bryce is taking all of this in, and he's trying to figure out in his head, there's not a lot of education and information in there to feed him any kind of thoughts, right? So he's just trying to figure out equations in his head with whatever numbers are in there. Those numbers may not even match. So, and his idea, he was talking to a homeboy. A homeboy said that, yeah, man, I got a lawnmower and a weed whacker and a blower that you can use. Hell, I even got a rake you can use. And you start with that. Just go and just mow people's lawns, and that's a good idea, right? To start. You have to start that as a side hustle. You don't quit your job, Bryce. You don't quit what's in your hand for what's not in your hand. No matter what anybody's telling you. Bryce, at the end of the day, what you have to understand and what you have to realize is that no matter how much you love this woman, you have to do you. You have to put yourself in a place to where you can self-sustain yourself first before you can even think about a family or anything outside of you. You have to sustain yourself and make sure that you can buy yourself food, make sure you can buy yourself water, make sure you can buy yourself the essentials to survive without anybody. You have to do that first and foremost. We all do coming out. Because if not, now we're depending on somebody else to survive, you see? And it puts you into these pressures that you're now under where you feel like you got to bring in more money, but you're not capable of doing that. The lawnmower thing is a good thing, but you have to figure out a way. You come to her and you say, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep working this job here, and on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm just going to go out and hustle clients and do lawns. And then when you get your 2 or 3 clients, and then that you can make more, not just you saying I can do it, but you have it in your hand, then you can let go of this hand and build upon this hand. You see what I'm saying? So what ends up happening is again, Alundra's telling him no. She's making him feel like he's little and uneducated with his decisions and his choices. But yet when he says something to her, she shuts him down and she tells him, don't talk to me like I'm stupid. I hate that. But yet she's talking to him in the same fashion. You see? Again, this is the toxicity that happens in relationships where we don't even realize what we're doing. We get into an egoic state. So what we have to do is when somebody's doing something to us, we have to just stop and ask ourselves, is he or she displaying the actions that I'm displaying? Am I showing these things that he's now or she's now showing back to me? We always have to look at ourselves first as the problem. So Bryce does what all of us do in that instance because we feel like we're trapped, right? We don't know how to express ourselves. We can't get across to this spouse of ours that is just not understanding what we're trying to say. So in that moment, we walk away. You know, sometimes for good, sometimes for a night. But when we do that again, this is a time when that happens in your relationship for you to self-reflect. Don't sit there and stew on this person that left. Start asking yourself, what did I do to make this person leave? You know what I mean? He just came home. What did I do to make him feel like he had to leave? Versus just look at him, man, walking out. What a kid, what a child. You know what I mean? What a child, and I don't know how I'm gonna make this work. We have to get out of that egoic state. They have ulterior. This was the now for in this whole segment with Michael. This one sentence was the most properly formed, articulate sentence that he could come up with. That was his one shot. That was his last hurrah, right? To try to convince this woman that he's not full of shit. Again, this guy, this is some of the sorriest manipulation I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, he's attempting to try to again change the narrative. When the questions come and he don't know how to answer them, it's first he just tries to explain it one way, and when she don't buy that, he switches it to trying to put guilt or make her feel some kind of way. Wow, when do you care about people that say this and haters and you know uh, it's just it's sad. What's sad about it is aside from the show, but you have an individual that did 5 years in prison, right? And this is what America needs to pay attention to. And you had an individual who did 5 years in prison, who did no kind of growth other than physical. He just spent his whole time in there just lifting books, doing push-ups, and all of that stuff. And then playing spades until he went to bed and just did it over the next day. He's in the same state as what he was when he went in, and that's what's sad. Because these are supposed to be institutions of growth and rehabilitation and learning. And as you see, it's not happening. Yes, Michael, there are a million other prisoners who know what lightweight taking means. Yes, you are correct. And yes, Michael, your terminology is different from those on the streets because your terminology is rooted in manipulation. And we can only use that for a little while about us just coming home because people don't buy it after a while. You know what I mean? Once they know you've been home for months, years, whatever. But when you first come home, again, that's always instant an emotional reaction when you tell your mate, babe, I just got home, man. I just came home. I got to learn how to speak civilian language now. I just came home. He still hasn't really learned how to even articulate himself in a proper fashion. He's just sad. So now we switch back to Alundra on the phone trying to call Bryce. He's not answering, and again, she's stewing herself. Right, I guarantee Alundra reads fiction books. I guarantee it. I guarantee she reads these romance novels and all this crap, man, that we're feeding into these kids' heads that paint these fantasies, man. Alundra, tighten up, girl, man. I saw better in you in the beginning. So we cut back to Alundra and Bryce's relationship. Right now, Bryce comes back in, and again, he just does what we all do. Is just try to blow off what happened. Because we went and blew off our steam, and now it's just we come back and it's like, man, that stuff is over with. Let's just and that's the type of attitude that Bryce comes in with, because he knows that she's pissed off, and he knows that he purposely blew off her calls to piss her off. So now Alundra has went full scale mother son relationship. You know what I mean? And you're seeing that form now. She's done put herself in the place as a mother, as a parent role, and she's drilling him with questions. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, if you saw this, why didn't you see that? And again, it puts Bryce in a corner, right? There's so much pressure on this kid, at 23 years old. You know what I mean? Just coming home. I don't. How long has this kid been home? He couldn't have been home but a couple weeks. Jesus Christ. So Alundra is hitting him with all of these questions, and again, he's starting to well up because he don't know how to answer this here, and then she puts even more pressure on him in the end by telling him, you're going back into your old ways, and I'm not gonna be here if you go back. The just the amount of dirt that's thrown on this man's shoulders, just day after day after day. He don't know how to respond to any of this. He don't know what to do. You could tell he's getting frustrated. And what happens is, yes, we will regress back into what we know to be comfort, what we know how to survive. That's what we'll regress back into. But Alundra doesn't see that she is doing that to him. And then she'll go into her little meeting, her little side chat, and sit here and talk about how he's immature and he's going back into his old ways. She's a snowball, man, and she's just rolling downhill in parent mode, to the point to where she's just gonna, start putting him out or telling him he's got to go or whatever. See, Bryce is sharp. Bryce knows Bryce knows what it takes to stay out of jail. He just don't know how to do it, right? And I believe that he's sincere when he's telling her, like, I'm not doing that. I got you. I love you, and we're gonna figure it out. It's just that Bryce does not know. Again, here's another person, right, in prison, did 4 years, 5 years, however long, and still comes out in the same condition as he went in. The same condition. And then you come out trying to figure life out when you couldn't figure it out before you went in. That whole 4 or 5 years is just dead time. And we have to stop that. We have to stop that. We cut to Chelsea's private cam, diary, booth, side gig, side chat, whatever y'all people calling it, man. So we cut to this thing here. And now, here again, here's just more issues, Michael goes online again, live, and just acts a fool, just acts stupid, sets the phone down and goes and urinates in the bathroom or whatnot. Again, just more stigma is being put out on returning prisoners, that we just come out and we just end up getting, screwed up or drunk or just act like animals. This is the stigma that I don't like, because that's not what our intentions are. But the camera keeps finding these people, and Chelsea's in her little side gig mad at Michael for doing these things, but I'm mad at Chelsea. You know what I mean? Because this was Chelsea's choice of a representation. You know what I mean? And she mixed business and pleasure, and that's just a no-no, because that is what happens. Chelsea shouldn't be mad at Michael. Michael is who Michael is. Chelsea needs to be mad at herself. Chelsea needs to be asking herself, why did I let myself do this? Michael's just being Michael. You did that, Chelsea. So we cut back to what I've been wanting to get to, man, and that's the conversation between Isa and Devin. Man, this thing went sideways, man, and it didn't have to again. And this is why I'm distraught about it, man, because Devin, I could see that Devin really cares about Isa, man, for real. But Devin's issue is, yes, he's insecure. Devin is insecure. You see, you're talking to a cat. I guarantee it. You're talking to a cat that has felt abandoned his whole life for whatever reason. And when he's in there, he said it explicitly. He don't know what you're doing out there. And just like how your mind wanders out here, our minds wander in there as well. And then we got all kinds of jealous cats around us as well. If he's hanging your pictures up, that's one mistake that a lot of inmates make, is getting their beautiful women and hanging them up in their cell. And people see these things and they get jealous. They look for your mail. They'll steal your mail, write your girl, tell your girl you're in here messing with homosexuals, all kinds of stuff. What people have to understand, when you're in prison for you. It's not your family. These things are supports. I understand. You need your pictures. Put them stuffs away in your envelopes and keep them in your locker. You know what I mean? Keep them for you. When you start showing them around, it's egoic. You're doing it because you want people to think that you had something. You know what I mean? That you're somebody. Just stop all that. Stop worrying about what other people think about you. I could tell Devin cares about Isa, man, and he is backing off, right? Because he just thinks that Issa's going to leave him. As I said earlier, we can tell these things, you see, and he went and put himself back on the site, and he lied to Issa, right? These are the mistakes again, you know. But that's survival. It's not fraudulent. It can be, but we live in survival. Devin's in survival mode. That's his first instinct, is to lie and cover his tracks. That's just instinctual. That's why there's no thought process. As soon as they ask the question, a lie just comes right out, because it's just programmed. It's not that he's sitting there thinking about the lie. As you saw with Michael, Michael got lost because there was no lie, and he's trying to fish for it in his head, and he's coming up with all this stupidity, right? Because it's not fraudulent. It's just survival, survival of self. And then we get to witness another great frustration that occurs between loved ones is the interruption. By the time the argument even starts to get going, and you start to extract information and try to find out what's going on, the phone cuts off, and you have to wait a whole nother hour for that to begin again. Now for me, I just go to my cell, I sit down, and I contemplate on what my next phone call is going to be for an hour. The person in the free world, they're moving. That conversation's done. They go and they do the things. Their mind wanders. And so, again, things really does not get resolved in a correct fashion. So we'll see what happens in the next phone call. So Bryce is making all the right moves, man. He tells Alundra that he needs some help moving some of the lawn equipment into the truck, and he surprises her with a picnic. You know what I mean? Got food laid out or whatnot, and he apologizes for his actions the other night. Bryce is doing everything that he knows how to do, and this was the right move. You know what I mean? And Alundra, it opened her up a little bit to listen to him. So Bryce has to see that and understand that that's kind of his doorway into her, for him to speak. But he didn't speak on the issue. Again, because he don't understand what the issue is. And that's all of us. We always think it's us. We always think it's us not doing what we're supposed to be doing, and that we'll do better. And again, this comes from miseducation. It comes from stigma. It just comes from nobody there to truly understand and explain, right? Some of the most egregious things that these guys are saying is, when I was inside, I had no responsibilities. That's not true. And what that tells me is that you squandered the responsibility that you did have, and that was to fix yourself. That's the responsibility that we have when we go to prison, is fix ourselves. All the other responsibilities are taken away or subsided in some fashion, because the main responsibility is to fix yourself. And that's not what we do, because we're not told, right? We're not instructed that that's what we're supposed to do. We're not given guidance when we're inside that that's what we're supposed to do. So yeah, they take all these other responsibilities away, and it gives us a bunch of free time. So we can use the free time to go to the law library. We can use the free time to work out or play spades, dominoes, watch TV. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. So it's just all in what you have to do. But the responsibility is to fix yourself each day. Even if it's for an hour, you have to spend time learning something about yourself and bettering yourself. But what did not happen, right, was Alundra got no awareness, right? She got no awareness of what her culpability in this toxicity is, because Bryce apologized and took ownership of his actions, but he did not explain to her how she's making him do these things, right? And she may have received it at that time. So essentially what this picnic ended up turning into was the child coming and apologizing to the parent, and then the parent consoling the child that it was okay. Alundra wraps up in the room with she acknowledging the fact that she can be difficult to work with and that she could be overprotective. And again, I keep saying this over and over again. We acknowledge these things about ourselves as excuses for our actions versus items that we actually have to check off the list. So, okay, you say this about yourself, but what are you doing to correct that behavior? So we get back to the phone call with Devin and Isa, and it again, this is another form of toxicity, right? It's just from a distant relationship type, because again, the mind wanders. There's no doubt in my mind that Devin really cares for Isa, and there's no doubt in my mind that Devin knows that Isa is withdrawing, and he's just trying to save what may be there. Um, no question, Devin cares for Isa, and Issa's out the door, you know, and he's absolutely correct. Are you going to talk? Or are you going to listen, Issa? I mean, damn, let the man finish something. Let him talk for a second. Hear the man out. Let him express what it is he's trying to express, and take it for just what it is. You don't have to believe him. You don't have to disbelieve him. Just listen to him and let it marinate in your head, right? But again, because you were led down a fraudulent path, your thought process was fraudulent. You said that everybody was telling you not to trust him, and you even flash back to what the mother said, but that's not what the mother was saying at all, right? Again, she didn't know how to properly articulate what her son was going through. She would just, I think the mother was protecting her son and his emotions by trying to deter you, is what I think. Where Devin is messing up is not being honest with her, you know, and lying to her and trying to be deceitful about the whole thing, instead of just saying, I feel like you're leaving me anyways, and I went back onto the thing, you know, and that discussion needs to come out, and it's not, because both people are just, they're just caught in their own fantasies, you know. They're just their own egoic state, where is Devin's trying to, I don't know if Devin's really even trying to save this at this point. He may even just feel like it's over, and it didn't have to be here. That could have been a really good relationship, man, because I could see those two individuals really cared about each other. They just had no idea how to even go about understanding each other. Two completely different worlds. It's not that he's turning the tables. It's what he's saying is a reality for us. It's not that he's trying to turn the tables on you. He's expressing his feelings and his fears of what he's going through, and he's trying to explain to you why he put himself on that website without really trying to explain to you why. But these are the fears. Issa, you're a beautiful girl, right? And Devin probably made the mistake of bragging about you, showing your picture off, because that's what we do, right? And even officers will come and be like, man, come on, man, come. You really think that girl ain't out there got another dude? Seriously? Come on, man, be smart. Dudes are telling Devin this, I guarantee it, and putting that same crap in his head that crap was put in your head. Here, Issa pulls out. She backs out, and it's easy for her to back out. But who's there for the inmate? Who's there for Devin? Is Discovery Channel reaching out to Devin, making sure that he don't go on suicide watch, making sure that he's not affected in any kind of way, or that this relationship interfered with his progress in life, because Devin needs help, and a lot of time was spent on this versus the help that he really needed to get. So what is Discovery doing for these inmates that are now being abandoned and left behind because of miseducation? The fault of this relationship crumbling is miseducation. You could clearly see that Devin was affected, and he was asking legitimate questions because he cared. Like, why? So why was the point of you going to, such and such and here and there, if you were just going to back out? He's not turning the tables. It's just that, again, it's not your fault. It's not his fault. There was just nobody there to give you guys proper advice. And then they wrap it up with Issa in the side chat talking about her Cinderella story And what does the stigma show, right? What does the stigma show? That inmates are unable to form relationships. Like, we ain't light taking, boo. We ain't light taking, boo. So we come back to Jonathan now. You know, I dig Jonathan, man. Jonathan's a cool cat, man. Now, my type of cat, but he's a cool cat. You know what I'm saying? And Jonathan, he's a guru, man. He's hip. He knows what's going on, and he breaks it down to Chelsea, about the lightweight taking, and she knows. I mean, come on, Chelsea, what you doing, man? The hell you doing, Chelsea? And that's where we end at. We end with Chelsea and Jonathan, and Chelsea said that she needs to confront Michael on this. I mean, I don't freaking know what for, but okay. So that's it, man. Next episode will come out Monday night. I'll try to drop the breakdown that night. So that's it. Next episode will come out Monday morning, Discovery Plus. I'll try to get the breakdown later that night, man. I have to, now that I'm caught up, I can be a little more fluent. So I'll try to get that out Monday night. Yeah, man, there was a lot of good points in this here. I know I took a minute, so I'm going to wrap this up. But if you are in one of these relationships and you need guidance, please check me out, www.cominghomecoalition.com, and we can work something out and steer you from making these type of mistakes.